So managing the Gator brain becomes a piece of work that you have to continually improve. It's not something that you're able to do all the time. There was a point in my life where I had this experience with my son that really illustrated to me both the value of point and managing my Gator brain, as well as just how difficult it is to do. We live very rurally, have no near neighbors. We live 22 miles from the nearest grocery store, and you cannot see our house from the bottom of the driveway. The road we live on in the Adirondack Mountains happens to straighten out there, so people start going really fast past our house. They go by at 65 miles an hour, and it's a fast-moving two-lane country road through the wilderness of the Adirondacks. So that's where we live, and to understand the story, you have to know that part. The other part of it is that you might remember the tsunami that occurred in the Indian Ocean. It's been now about 10 years. And at that time, my son was about 9 years old. And because of the nature of our work at New and Improved, and because my kids have been involved in this through much of their life, they've traveled with us in this work. And they had friends that died that day. 250,000 people died in one day from that particular tsunami. And so as a family, we lost people we knew. And it impacted us. It was uncomfortable. It was painful. And we sat down, my wife and I, with our daughter and our son at one point soon after, and we decided to make a significant donation to the American Red Cross, specifically earmarked for the tsunami victims. It was a thing we did, and it was one of those things where my wife and I, the amount of money that we gave was just at the edge of what you start to feel really uncomfortable doing, and you worry that you may be giving too much, and this is what we did anyway. So a couple weeks after we did this, my son Luke comes up to me and he says, "Dad, I'd like to give more money to the American Red Cross." This 9-year-old was kind of working through his difficulty with the loss of a friend. And the first thing out of my mouth was, "Luke, we can't do that. We've already given as much money as we can afford to give as a family." So you can hear the Gator brain in my response. You can hear that I'm shutting him down, and I'm not proud that that's what I did, because that's not how I want to be. It was defensible, what I said. There's a logic to what I said. But the guy's a tenacious guy, still to this day in his 20s. And he ends up saying to me, "Dad, I know. I want to raise the money in order to give money to the American Red Cross. I'll earn it." And then he says, "I'm going to put a lemonade stand at the bottom of the driveway." It's like, of course, what goes through my mind? Two things show up in my mind right away. The first thing I think is he's going to be unsuccessful. I mean, where we live is not the place to do a lemonade stand. People are just going to go blowing by, and there's going to be no opportunity for sale. His first experience is going to be unproductive. That's not the way that you give people good entrepreneurial, positive experiences. And then the second one, of course, is the person that is stopped is going to be evil and do some nefarious thing to my son. But you know what? He had woken me up a little bit with his pushback. And so that a little bit of wake up was just enough to remind me to watch my Gator brain. And so what I did is I said something different to him. I said, "Luke, what's good about a lemonade stand is that lemonade, the cost of goods to make lemonade, is very low compared to what you can sell it for. So there's great margin. And in our family, by the time you're 9 years old, you understand margin." I also said to him, what else is good about a lemonade stand? Everybody knows what it is. It's a kid trying to make money for something. What also is good about a lemonade stand, these are things that came out of my mouth, is that in the back of our house, we've got this room and it's full of stuff, and there's all these paper cups back there from when we had the community party, and I am tired of tripping on them. So you can have those paper cups for free. What also is good about a lemonade stand is we've got some lemonade down in the storage in the basement that's starting to get close to its due date, so you can have that. So essentially, there's going to be very little cost. You're going to keep all the money that you would make on a lemonade stand. That's great. Now, those are pluses in a point. That's that first stage. And I'd started that because he woke me up. Now, what we know neurologically is that when somebody starts to think in the positive, they're more likely to be able to solve problems when the problems come up. But if someone starts to think in the negative, they're more likely to run from the idea than to try to solve any weaknesses in the idea. So in the point process, there's a second step called opportunities. And the idea with opportunities is to trick your brain into going just a little bit further with the positives. And so then I said to him, Luke, and by now I'm intentionally following the procedure. At first, not awake enough to do it. Thank God my kid pushed back at me because it woke me up enough to start doing the procedure I know how to do. So I said, we might be able to sell more firewood when people stop to buy your lemonade. We're tree farmers. We sell these honor bins of firewood. You know, people put $5 in, take firewood, and it works pretty nice for us. People might stop to buy your lemonade and buy firewood. People might stop to buy firewood, buy the lemonade. I said both those things to him. We might be able to sell maple syrup at the bottom of the driveway. Matter of fact, your mom and I will give you any of the maple syrup that you sell. You can keep the gross on it. And we'll just eat the cost of goods on that, and that'll be our contribution to you doing this. Your sister might come down and sell some of her jewelry. Heck, Luke, we might get a whole little farm stand going down there. Now what's happened is both of us are getting pretty excited. What I'm not doing is saying all these positive things to Luke so I can let him down easy. It's not that. What I'm doing is trusting the procedure. The procedure maneuvers people's thinking, and it's going to maneuver my thinking in this case such that I'm more likely to be able to solve any inherent problems in it. Now, honestly, the issue that I was most worried about was people not stopping. I really wasn't so worried about somebody harming my son as much as I was worried about him having a not a positive first experience. So I've done pluses, I've done opportunities, now I'm going to do issues. But remember, when we do issues, we frame the issue in the form of a question. So I actually said to Luke, how might we get people to stop? Now, he's not stupid. At 9 years old, he immediately knew, oh yeah, that's a problem. So we both started, naturally, brainstorming ideas about getting people to stop. And we were having fun with it. We're cutting trees down across the road in our mind. My wife's a firefighter. We were going to have one of these illegal toll roads the firefighters set up to guilt you into giving money to the fire department, all that kind of thing. But none of the ideas that we were thinking of really kind of felt like they would work for us. Luke kind of knew. He was naive for a minute, but as soon as I said, how might we get people to stop, that woke him up, the 9-year-old, to, oh yeah, that's right, no one will really stop. So then, hey, his dad's a creativity guy, so I said, how might we get where people are stopped for this? And immediately we began to thinking of another location. And the particular initial location we were thinking of, down in a corner where people have to slow down to turn left or hit a stop sign to turn right between us and town, we started playing with that idea, but I had data he didn't have. His mother and I had tried a farm stand down there selling maple syrup for a while and had not been very successful. And all of a sudden, I had the aha. Earlier in the week, my wife and I had been talking about a free concert in Saranac Lake, town for us, that was going to be occurring this following Thursday. And we talked about taking the kids into the free concert. And I said, Luke, Mom and I had been talking about going to this free concert in town on Thursday night. Maybe we could do it there. And we both got very excited about it. We started planning it out. We're building out a wagon. We're thinking about the advertising and how we're going to do this and all that. Got very excited, feeling very positive about it. And all of a sudden I had one of those, oh no, moments. And I thought, And I told Luke, I said, we might need a vendor's license. So what ends up happening is Luke goes and does this thing, and we decided not to ask for permission. I told him we'll ask for forgiveness if anybody stops us. No one did. The kid made $300. So he has this positive entrepreneurial experience. To this day, I think that's affected who he is as a human being. And I don't think it would have happened if I hadn't gotten woken up a little bit by his tenacity. Dad, I'll earn the money myself. And I had just stayed with the Gator brain of, we've already given as much money as we can afford to give. Point, in this case, both got Luke to be able to give money to the Red Cross for this particular purpose, and it also impacted on his sense of self as a person who's altruistic and entrepreneurial.